Hey everybody, this is Movie Motor Rock. McDonald here, aka Jarrett, and I'd like to share my thoughts. And this is another um James Bond related video, and this is going to talk about the new director for the for Bond for the 26th Bond film. I think he's the guy's name, and sorry if I butchered this name because I'm not French. So, if any of you French people watching and you're offended and you're upset that I mispronounced the name, I'm sorry. And just remember, I'm not French and I don't speak French. I'm French, so I think his name's Denis Villeneuve. I believe how you pronounce his name. Um, Forgive me if I butchered that name, but like I said, I'm not French. So that being said, what's my thoughts on this guy being the new director for the next James Bond film? I think he's a good choice. I'm not hooping and hollering and getting all excited because I've only seen one movie of his, and that was the Blade Runner 2049 movie, which is like the legacy sequel to Blade Runner. Now, going off topic for a moment, Blade Runner 2049 is how you do a legacy sequel right. Okay? Disney, there's Star Wars sequel trilogy, that's how you do it poorly. Okay? 2049, Blade Runner 2049 is how you do a legacy sequel right. Now, I've seen, from the one movie I've seen for his, he's a very talented director, okay? Um, Now, Blade Runner 2049 is not a movie that I'll watch all that often because it's a very long movie. It's almost 3 hours long. But back to the director directing James Bond. I think this is a very interesting choice. Now, if you don't like the Daniel Craig James Bond movies, and you want the James Bond movies to go back to the to more of the more fun, lighthearted, over the top, kind of like more over the top uh, spy adventure movies. You're not gonna get these. I don't think you're gonna get that with the with Villeneuve because the one movie I've seen for his movies um from what I'm saying is he doesn't do lighthearted. He doesn't do like lighthearted adventure movies. They're gonna be very. I'm assuming that this James Bond movie is going to be very grounded in reality, just like Daniel Craig movies were very grounded, and they're going to be probably a lot, probably be just as gritty and dark, just like the Daniel Craig movies, because the Daniel Craig movies were very grounded. Now there were still now just because they're grounded doesn't mean they don't have any escapism to them. Like the Daniel Craig James Bond movies still have still have that same escapism as the previous James Bond movies before that came before. It's just that they're just a lot more grounded, and he doesn't use as much gadgets. And I think Denis Villeneuve, I'm sorry I butchered that name again. I think he's an interesting choice. Now I've never seen any of his Dune movies. I haven't seen Prisoners. I tried to get into. I tried to watch Sicario. Couldn't get into it. I'm going to give that movie another chance. Um, yeah, um, I think he's an interesting choice to um, to direct James Bond. Now, like I said, I'll say one thing. Um, I'm gonna be very cautiously optimistic because I don't want James Bond to be. I don't want this next James Bond to be very overly dramatic and overly artsy because even though I like Blade Runner 2049, it is very slow in some parts, and is like very and it's like you can and it does have that art house feel to it. I don't want a art house James Bond movie. Now you can argue that Skyfall is kind of a it can be a little bit of a is somewhat of a art is I'll say I'll rephrase that. Skyfall is probably the most artistic James Bond movie we had so far, in my opinion. And I think this guy is, like I said, I'm gonna repeat myself like a broken record. I think he's an interesting choice. I'm not, I'm not getting all excited because I've only seen one of his movies that that he has directed. Okay, and I think he's an interesting choice. He, um, one thing I'll mention before I click off this video is that um, from other YouTubers who reported on this said that he's a fan of James Bond, and that's a good sign because he would um, that he would treat the character with respect, and he's not some yes man director for the producers for producers for the producers. If I'm assuming if the producers say, hey, we need a 20-something-year-old CC beta male to be James Bond because we can't have James Bond be masculine and seduces women. No, no, we can't have that because that's toxic. And I think Denis Denis Villeneuve would say no, we're not changing James Bond's character. So yeah, I think him being a fan of James Bond and saying he's going to show respect to the character is a good sign, and not trying to update him to a modern audience that doesn't watch James Bond movies. And that's my fault. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to rate and subscribe. And see you guys later. Bye.